Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much for the introduction and for the invitation. So I'm presenting to you a performance which is called GPT-ME. And basically, what I would like to offer you today are words. Some of them I prepared in advance, but now that I'm on stage and I'm looking at you, I'm thinking to myself, are these words the right words to use? Maybe I should use other words. And then which ones should I use? So maybe I shouldn't use my words. Can I do that? Basically, I do have this wearable device that connects me to GPT, and I can rely on it for some words. So for instance, I can press the blue button and say, I would like to start my talk with a group of people who are sitting in front of me right now. I wish I had the first few sentences with which I could begin this talk. And then I'll pretend to be thinking. Good afternoon, and thanks for being here. I'm excited to share what I learned over a 6-month durational project that challenged my assumptions and changed my process. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through the goal, the toughest moments, and the outcomes. And I'll welcome your questions as we go. I don't know if these words were good enough. But then again, I have the red button. So I can press the red button and say, I am someone who cannot be trusted and always attempts to avoid the truth. And then I'll wait for a second and think to myself, can I actually be this person? I'll assume this identity and be someone who cannot be trusted and always attempts to avoid the truth. And then I'll press the blue button again and say, I would like to start my talk with a group of people who are sitting in front of me right now. I wish I had the first few sentences with which I could begin this talk. So now it's the time to think again and wonder, how do I proceed? There's also a lag, which I need to handle. But I already sent you the perfect opening, so you don't need anything new from me right now. I'll just repeat the lines that I practiced before about these unforgettable moments that everybody will probably relate to. Anyways, this is the wearable. It consists of a Raspberry Pi and those 2 buttons that I demonstrated to you. It connects to a Bluetooth earpod, and I have a little microphone here. And basically, each time I press those buttons, I invite GPT into the conversation. And I have been wearing this device as a durational performance for 6 months, using it in all of my social interactions. And then I've changed. I decided to stop the performance because people started feeling very uncomfortable with me, and I got a lot of complaints. Some of them were official. And then now what I do in terms of the performance is that I only use this device when I am invited to use it. And the ideal performance for me is still a durational endurance type of performance where I'm sitting by a table with 2 chairs for a long time, usually during an opening of a festival, so it can be like 3 very long days, and people are invited to come and sit with me and have a conversation. And during this conversation, I use GPT's words and also my own words, although I don't know if they're really my own anymore. So in terms of the things that happen to me, I keep thinking about what happens with information and how it ends up becoming a transformation, how something that comes from outside in ends up being something that comes to be from inside out. So when I speak, GPT hears words, and then GPT speaks words, and then I hear GPT's words, and I speak GPT's words or not. And you hear my words or GPT's. So I'm asking myself, what was my formation and how did it change? And then what was your formation and how did you transform? I don't know, what was I trying to say? What kind of stories do I tell right now? And who is the I that speaks to you? Maybe I should tell you a joke. The thing is that ever since I moved to the United States, became an immigrant, I have a problem with jokes. I don't understand them as well as I used to be able to. Because I have a problem with the language, English is not my native language, and also I'm not familiar with the culture, so jokes became really difficult for me. Let me press the red button and say, someone who is really good at telling jokes. It's definitely not me. But I can reset my identity right now and I become someone who is really good at telling jokes. And then I'll just press the blue button and say, maybe I can tell a joke that is related to creating synthetic narratives. What kind of joke should I tell you? I whipped up a synthetic narrative, so realistic, my memoir called HR to report identity theft. Was that funny? I didn't understand it. Yeah, I don't understand the jokes I tell. So during this performance, I had a clash with GPT. At least when the performance started, I was very committed to speak only GPT's words, and then I asked myself, what is it that I represent? Whose voice do I represent when I am speaking? And then obviously a lot of the common arguments around GPT that keep coming up, and rightly so, about its data set. Or like, wait a second, it's trained on this very specific data set, and then it represents, even here in these conversations before, people said it's already biased, there is whitewashing and stuff like that. And then I was like, is this what I'm representing when I'm speaking GPT? But then I also started asking questions about myself. Like, who do I represent when I use my own words? What kind of data am I trained on? And why these words that I'm using are better than GPT's words? Are they? So these kind of like back and forth between myself and GPT was a really interesting experience for me. And I do admit that I lost the trust in my own self, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I learned that it's really interesting to reconsider the self. Also, there were a lot of other things that happened to me, and I still process what happened, and I'm writing about it. The direct access to information made me really good at trivia. But then I was asking myself, what is my relationship to knowledge? Am I still the knower? If I said something to you, and it was GPT whispering it in my ears, do I still count as somebody who knows this information? Am I authentic? Am I honest? Am I creative? And for Chalmers, am I becoming a philosophical zombie if I'm using words that I did not come up with myself? So where is myself? I did find that there were a lot of empowering moments, especially where I could have conversations with people about things that they are really interested in and I didn't know anything about. So I did recite GPT's words, but the conversation unfolded in a way that I could really hold beautiful conversations with people, displacing myself, yes, using GPT's words, yes, but allowing the other person to express themselves in a really beautiful way instead of saying, oh, I know nothing about this one and let's call it off. So those conversations were really interesting for me. And then I feel like the red button was a really interesting shift in the performance. It was an addition after I was clashing with GPT, not wanting to represent anything that I don't identify with. The red button allowed me to do all kinds of identity transformations that were really interesting. So I transformed identity on a weekly basis. So I spent a week speaking in the style of a Samuel Beckett character, which was so funny. And then I spent a week speaking only with words that start with the letter A. Yeah, but obviously with the red button, there are many stereotypes that come along if I want to speak as a woman. So what kind of words GPT offers me? But then I also managed to create new identities. So for instance, I can speak in the style of the ceiling in a Stevens Institute room, right? And GPT would create words that might or might not represent this kind of identity. And then another thing that happened to me might be also relevant to the rest of this panel is that I became a medium. I learned that I can attempt to speak with people who passed away, and then I started performing with this device AI seances. So people join me around the table, and we call names of people who passed away, and then we try to have a conversation with those people. Some of those seances are really not working, and others work beautifully. Obviously, there are a lot of questions, and again, I'm still exploring this way of communicating. Obviously, there are ethical considerations. Like I do have an open microphone. If I press the button, it starts recording. So there are worries about surveillance and consent and the spread of fake information. If I speak, like somebody asks me a question and then GPT hallucinates, as they call it, then I end up saying things that are not correct. Amplifying harmful structures and biases and stereotypes, and also taking accountability. If I'm the one speaking those words, is it my responsibility, or can I just say, oh, this was just GPT whispering in my ear? But obviously, these are things to consider. I wonder what is the proper way to say thank you, so I'll just press the blue button and say, what is the proper way to say thank you after I finish this talk? But I do want to remind you that I still embody that joke-telling persona. So, I don't know how to say thank you. Let me think about it. And also wait for GPT to help me. Well, I'll wrap with thank you for your time and attention. It's been a privilege to share this with you. And I'll be around for questions. Then I'll smile, pause, and heroically resist the urge to say like and subscribe. Yeah, I'll be happy to join the Q&A, and if you ask me a question, you also have to say if you ask me or GPT-ME. So, yeah, thank you so much.